Lesson number 228, Surah Saba, ayah number 31 to 54. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, and those people who disbelieve, they say, لَن نُؤْمِنَ بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ, we will never believe in this Qur'an, وَلَا بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, nor in that which is before it. Who says this? Those people who disbelieve. Remember, this is a Makki surah, and primarily الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, it refers to the mushrikeen of Makkah, because they were the first ones to say such a statement. They were the ones who said, when will the day of judgment be? And they were the ones who said, we're never going to believe in this Qur'an. But after them, there are many people who say similar statements. So even they're meant over here. That وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve, they say, لَن نُؤْمِنَ, never will we believe. Never at all are we going to believe. Lan as opposed to la. What meaning does it give? Of shiddah. That never at all. Of tawqeed, absolutely not. Give up hope. Despair that we'll ever believe. In what? بِهَذَا الْقُرْآنِ, in this Qur'an. We're never going to believe in this Qur'an. هذا اسم إشارة قريب for the purpose of tahqeer, in order to belittle the Qur'an. We're never going to believe in this Qur'an. And you see, نُؤْمِنَ, this is fi'l mudari'. So we will never believe, we never believe now, we will never believe in the future, ever. We will never believe in the Qur'an, وَلَا, and nor, بِالَّذِي, in that which, بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, before it. Nor will we ever believe in that which is before it. بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ gives meaning of, in front of, before. And this word, بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, is understood in two ways. Sometimes it gives a meaning of before, meaning in the past. What came before, meaning what came in the past. If you say, she came before me, what does it mean? What does it mean? In the past, right? And sometimes before gives a meaning of future, right? Depending on how you're using the word. So this is why بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ has been understood in two ways. First of all, it has been understood as that the scriptures that were before the Qur'an, like for example the Torah, the Injil, the Zabur. We don't believe in this Qur'an, and we don't believe in the previous scriptures either. Thus we deny the very fact that Allah has sent any messengers, that Allah has sent any revelation. Now think about it. Did the mushrikeen of Makkah only say this, or do people even today say this? Many people say this. We don't believe in any revelation. We don't believe that God has ever sent any revelation. The Qur'an, the Torah, the Injil, the Gospel, anything. We don't believe in it. Secondly, الَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ, that which is before it has been understood as what will come after the Qur'an. And what it means is the Day of Judgment. Because that's what the Qur'an warns of. That's what the previous books also warned of. The coming of the Day of Judgment. And if you look at in the previous ayah, what is being mentioned? In the previous ayat, what is being mentioned? The Day of Judgment, right? So, we will never believe in this Qur'an. We will never believe in the previous scriptures. We will never believe in that which the Qur'an informs of either. We don't believe this is from Allah. We don't believe we have to follow it. We don't believe in anything that the Qur'an says. وَلَا بِالَّذِي بَيْنَ يَدَيْهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَوْ تَرَى, if only you could see. Today these people say, make these claims, make these statements with a lot of pride, with a lot of arrogance. Tomorrow, if only you could see, وَلَوْ تَرَى, if only you could see, إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ, when the wrongdoers, مَوْقُوفُونَ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, they'll be made to stand before their Lord. They will not be able to move forward. They'll be made to stop right there. They will not be able to take even one more step. If only you could see. And if you think about it, وَلَوْ, law is shart, and after law is jawab of shart. Like for example, if you say, that if only you could come, then you would have a lot of fun. Right? If only you could come, then so and so. But over here we see that only walau is mentioned and the jawab is not mentioned. Why? Many times you will find this in the Quran, and the purpose behind this is to show the enormity of the scene that is going to be described. That it's a great sight. It's a great sight. It's something worth seeing. Walau tara, if only you could see. So the jawab is not mentioned to show the enormity of the scene. That today these people make these statements with a lot of pride that they will never believe. But on the day of judgment, all of their pride will disappear. Their ego will break. When they'll be caught, when they'll be seized, is الظالمون موقوفون. Zalimun, who are the zalimun? The kafirun, the mushrikun. والكافرون هم الظالمون. إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. When they'll be made to stand, موقوفون is from the root letters وقف, waqf. What does waqf mean? To stop. And waqf also means to pause. Right? You're doing something, you pause, and then you continue. Isn't it? You may have heard موقف السيارات. What is it? Bus stop. موقف. Why? Because the buses, they only pause over there for some time and then they continue. So موقوف, what's the structure? موقوف, مفعول, right? So موقوفون, ones who are made to stand, ones who are made to stop. عند ربهم, near their Lord. They will be restrained. They will not be allowed to move forward. They will not be allowed to run away. They will have to stop there. Why? For accountability. For questioning. And when they will be questioned, when they will be held back, when they will be stopped, they will not be allowed to go. It's like when a criminal is stopped. What happens? Is he overcome by guilt? Of course. Just 2 minutes ago, it's quite possible that he was saying such great statements, being so proud, who cares about the religion, who cares about the law, making great statements. And what happens when the police officer shows up? What happens when they're stopped, when they're detained? Are they overcome by guilt? Yes. Are they overcome by embarrassment? Yes. All their ego, gone. Similarly, وَلَوْ تَرَى إِذِ الظَّالِمُونَ مَوْقُوفُونَ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ, what will they do? يَرْجِعُ بَعْضُهُمْ إِلَى بَعْضٍ الْقَوْلِ, that some of them will return the statement to each other. What does it mean by this? يَرْجِعُ, رُجُوع, to return something. And rujur of qawl, to one another. If you think about it, one person says something to the other. The other says, I don't accept the statement. He throws it back at him. And the other throws it back at him. And constantly people are throwing back the statement to one another. What is this attitude? Blaming one another. Isn't it? Not taking responsibility. So they will begin to blame one another. They will begin to argue with one another. And this is so true that even in the dunya, people who are partners in crime, when they're committing their crimes, they're so united, they're so together, so proud, and the moment they're caught, what happens to their unity? What happens to their friendship? Finished immediately. Isn't it? Immediately they begin to blame one another. On the day of judgment as well, such people will blame one another. يَقُولُ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا, those who were weak, they will say لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا, to those who were arrogant. Who are the weak ones? الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا, those who were dealt with arrogance, those who were considered weak, those who were oppressed, meaning the followers. And who are الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا? Who are they? The leaders. So the followers, they will say to the leaders, blaming them, لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ, if it had not been for you, لَكُنَّا مُؤْمِنِينَ, surely we would have been believers. They're blaming their leaders for their kufr. They're blaming their leaders, it's because of you that we disbelieved. It's because of you, it's your fault. Just like if a person is doing something wrong just because the other suggested him to do it, the moment they're caught, what will they do? So-and-so told me to do it. Even children do that. So-and-so told me to do it, that's why I did it. So similarly on the Day of Judgment, the followers, they will blame the leaders. لَوْلَا أَنْتُمْ لَكُنَّا مُؤْمِنِينَ قَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا. The arrogant ones, the leaders, what will they do? They will say, لِلَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا. For those who were oppressed, meaning their followers, the leaders will say to the followers, أَنَحْنُ صَدَدْنَاكُمْ. Did we avert you? Did we stop you? عَنِ الْهُدَى. From al-huda, from guidance, بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَكُمْ. After it came to you. بَلْ كُنْتُمْ مُجْرِمِينَ. Rather you yourselves were criminals. What do we see over here? That the leaders will not take responsibility. They will not take responsibility. They will say, when did we ever stop you? We never stopped you. We only told you. You followed us. It was your decision. It was your choice. We never stopped you from huda, from guidance. It was your decision. You yourselves were criminals, so don't blame us. In the previous ayah, what do we see? That the disbelievers, they say with a lot of pride, we don't believe in revelation. We don't believe in the Day of Judgment. And usually, which kind of people make such statements? People who are weak or people who have authority? People who have authority. People who have wealth. People who have a lot of knowledge even sometimes. They make such statements. Like for example, if you go to a store and you see a normal person, they will perhaps say to you, pray for me. But if you go to a university and see a professor, someone who's very educated, will they even mention prayer? No. They will try to prove that prayer doesn't work. Isn't it? So usually, who is it that denies? People with authority. And the rest of the people, what do? They just follow them blindly. Isn't it so? They don't use their own mind. Instead, they follow the elite. They follow the leaders. So if so-and-so person is an atheist, he doesn't believe in God, he doesn't pray, he doesn't worship, he doesn't have a religion, I'm also cool like him and I don't believe in religion either. This is what people do. Isn't it? Because they have small minds. They imitate others. They don't use their own minds. This is why they're called الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا. They were made weak. They were weakened. Why? They didn't have any mind of their own. They didn't use their own reason. They just followed others blindly. But we see that in the dunya, people can make these great statements, but on the Day of Judgment, all their pride, all their ego will break. It will finish. When they will be stopped to be questioned. And at that time, no person will take responsibility for others. Even the leaders will not take responsibility for their followers. The followers will blame the leaders, but what will the leaders say? We never forced you. We never stopped you. It was your own decision. أَنَحْنُ صَدَدْنَاكُمْ عَنِ الْهُدَى بَعْدَ إِذْ جَاءَكُمْ. We never stopped you from going. You made that decision yourself. بَلْ كُنْتُمْ مُجْرِمِينَ. Rather, you were criminals. In the dunya, many times what happens? A person wishes to do something good, but he comes under the pressure of others. Isn't it so? And because of that pressure, he gives up. In Surah Al-Ahzab, what did we learn? That when a person does certain things, he invites the battle of Ahzab. Certain things when a person does, he invites the battle of Ahzab. All people come against him. And you may have experienced that. Some of you may be experiencing it currently. That how everyone is coming against you. Everyone is saying things to you because of a certain step that you have taken. Now some people, they get afraid over here. I can't deal with this. And what happens? They give up. If they give up on the Day of Judgment, will the other people take responsibility? Never. They will say, we never forced you. We only told you. We only discouraged you. We never forced it off. We never told you to not wear it. We never told you to not do it. We just told you. That's it. We never forced you. It was your own decision. بَلْ كُنْتُمْ مُجْرِمِينَ. So don't blame us today. How sad that a person does something for the sake of others, he leaves something for the sake of others, and they don't even take responsibility for it on the Day of Judgment. How sad. Can you trust these people then? Can you rely on them? Can you believe in them? You cannot. وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ اسْتُضْعِفُوا And those who were oppressed, they will say, to who? لِلَّذِينَ اسْتَكْبَرُوا To those who were arrogant. The followers will say to the leaders, بَلْ مَكْرُ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ Rather, it was the makr of night and day. Meaning it was a makr that you did in the night and the day. All this plotting and planning and scheming that you did during the night and the day. Why? In order to lead us astray. Makru al-layli wal-nahar, this is an expression. And it means that when a person is constantly planning, secretly, openly, 24 hours to do something. And layl is mentioned first. Why? Because makr, secret plots, when are they usually carried out? During the night, when people are asleep, when people are heedless. So the followers will say that no, it wasn't us, it was you. You led us astray. How? That you plotted during the night and the day. How? إِسْتَأْمُرُونَنَا When you used to order us أَن نَكْفُرَ بِاللَّهِ That we should disbelieve in Allah. That you were constantly scheming to stop us from believing in Allah. Constantly scheming to stop us from observing what we should have been observing. You had so many plans. You tempted us. You promised us. You gave false hopes to us. You threatened us. This was what? Makrul layli wan nahar. You never stopped. All the time you were on our case. Like for example, when the enemy, it came at Ahzab, did they leave immediately? No, they were there for an entire month. And sometimes what happens? You're facing some problem and this person is constantly attacking you, constantly speaking up against you during the night, during the day, openly, publicly, in front of guests, in front of family, alone, in public. Isn't it so? They don't leave you. They just don't leave you. And when a person pressurizes you like this, eventually what happens? Don't you tend to give up? Typically people do. So same thing happened with these followers. بَلْ مَكْرُ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ إِسْتَأْمُرُونَنَا أَن نَكْفُرَ بِاللَّهِ When you used to order us to disbelieve in Allah, وَنَجْعَلَ لَهُ أَنْدَادًا And that we assign partners for Him. This is your fault. It's not our fault. So we see that in the first ayah that we read, an overview is mentioned. That the criminals will be blaming one another. And in the following ayah, the details are mentioned. That how the followers will blame the leaders will blame the followers, and then again the followers will blame the leaders. And this will continue until وَأَسَرُّ النَّدَامَةَ They all will conceal the regret. Who? The followers and the leaders. All of them will have regret concealed inside their hearts. What does it mean by that? They will be guilty inside. Each person will realize it was his own fault. The followers will realize it was their fault. The leaders will realize, yes, it was their fault. But will they show it? Will they? They won't show it. أَسَرُّ النَّدَامَةَ لَمَّا رَأَوُا الْعَذَابِ When they will see the punishment. Especially when they see the punishment, then they will realize that that's it. It was their fault. They were wrong. They cannot blame others. وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَغْلَالَ فِي أَعْنَاقِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا And we will place the shackles in the necks of those who disbelieved. How will they be punished? That their necks will be shackled and then they will be dragged into the fire. وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَغْلَالَ Aghlal is a plural of? Plural of? غُل. Ghain, lam, lam. And ghul is basically anything that a person wears, in the sense that he wears it around himself. Okay? Like for example, you have a bracelet, you have a bangle. How do you wear it? How do you wear it? Around your wrist, right? So you put your hand in it, you put your wrist in it. Similarly, a necklace, what do? You put it around your neck, right? Similarly, a ring, what do? You put it around your finger. You put your finger inside it. So ghalal is to wear something on top or to go inside of it. To wear something on top, like a bracelet, or to go inside of it. You put your hand inside. You put your ring inside. And from this, the word ghul is also used for a neck collar. Why? Because it completely locks the neck. Isn't it? The neck is inside of it. It wraps the neck. It closes the neck inside of it. So, وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَغْلَالَ فِي أَعْنَاقِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. The shackles, the neck collars, will be placed in the necks of those who disbelieve. Why is this so? You may have seen that a person who has some neck injury, what do they have to wear? Like a neck brace, right? And that prevents that person from bending down, isn't it? That prevents the person from turning their neck sideways even, isn't it? Similarly, a person who is arrogant, does he submit? Does he? Does he humble himself? He doesn't. Now those who disbelieve, their statement that never will we believe, what does that reflect? Great pride, great arrogance. And what do we learn? That وَجَزَاءُ سَيِّئَةٍ سَيِّئَةٌ مِثْلُهَا. That the recompense for a crime is what? A sayyi'ah, just like it. The punishment is always of the same nature as the crime. So just as they refuse to submit their necks in the dunya, on the Day of Judgment, what's going to happen? Collars will be placed on their necks and they will be unable to stretch, they will be unable to bend, they will be unable to move around. وَجَعَلْنَا الْأَغْلَالَ فِي أَعْنَاقِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. This is why Allah says, هَلْ يُجْزَوْنَ إِلَّا مَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. Are they not being recompensed except for what they used to do? Meaning, isn't this a just recompense? Isn't this a fair punishment? Of course it's a fair punishment. Because look at their crime of pride and look at their punishment of humiliation, abasement. In Surah Ghafir, ayah 71, we learn, إِذِ الْأَغْلَالُ فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ وَالسَّلَاسِلُ يُسْحَبُونَ. When the shackles are around their necks and the chains, and they will be dragged. They will be dragged. And at that time, they will know that they were wrong. They cannot blame anyone. In Surah Al-Ra'd, ayah 5, we learn, وَإِن تَعْجَبْ فَعَجَبٌ قَوْلُهُم. If you are astonished at their kufr, then more astonishing is their saying, أَإِذَا كُنَّا تُرَابًا أَإِنَّا لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. That when we will turn to dust, are we going to be in a new creation? Allah says, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا بِرَبِّهِمْ. Those are the people who have disbelieved in their Lord. وَأُولَٰئِكَ الْأَغْلَالُ فِي أَعْنَاقِهِمْ. And those people, shackles will be in their necks. وَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. In Surah Al-Haqqa, ayah 30 to 33, we learn, خُذُوهُ فَغُلُّوهُ. That Allah will say, seize this person and shackle him, tie him up. And then what? ثُمَّ الْجَحِيمَ صَلُّوهُ. And then into hellfire drive him. Burn him. ثُمَّ فِي سِلْسِلَةٍ زَرْعُهَا سَبْعُونَ ذِرَاعًا فَاسْلُكُوهُ. Then into a chain whose length is 70 cubits. Insert him. Tie him up with the chain. That is how long? 70 cubits. So he cannot escape at all. إِنَّهُ كَانَ لَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ الْعَظِيمِ. He did not used to believe in Allah the Great One. So look at their pride and look at the humiliation in the hereafter. So the punishment in the hereafter will be according to the crime that a person has committed. It will not be more, because وَمَا رَبُّكَ بِظَلَّامٍ لِلْعَبِيدِ. Allah is not unjust towards His servants. What do we learn from these ayat? What's the lesson? Can a person follow another blindly? Can he? Can he say, I'm doing such and such because so-and-so wants me to do it? I know Allah wants me to do something. Otherwise, however, I cannot do it because so-and-so does not want me to. Is that okay? Can a person make that justification? Will that save him? Can it save him? It cannot save him. Because on the Day of Judgment, no person will take responsibility. Not even those who pressurized you. Not even those who forced you. Not even those who condemned you. Not even those who fined you. Because what will they say? Ultimately, it was your own choice. We only pressurized you. We didn't force it off you. It was your choice. So we are responsible for ourselves. And we cannot blame others. We have to stop blaming people in the dunya, because we cannot blame them in the hereafter either. We have to take responsibility ourselves. No person will take responsibility for us on the Day of Judgment. And we see that each person, no matter what position he is in, whether he is in the position of authority or he is a subordinate in some way. You understand? A person who is in a position of authority or he is a subordinate in some way, each person is in a test. What does he do? Those with influence, those with authority, what's their test? Do they encourage others to do good, or do they lead others astray? And those who are subordinates, what's their test? Do they listen to Allah, or do they fall weak before others? So each person is being tested. And the fact is that each person has been given a separate mind by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Isn't it so? Your mind is separate from the mind of your sister. Isn't it? You don't share your brain, do you? You don't share it. Similarly, when it comes to your parents, do you share your brain with them? You don't. Each person has a separate intellect. Therefore, each person will be individually held responsible. You know, even conjoined twins. You know what they are? Conjoined twins, those whose bodies are attached. Twins whose bodies are attached, even they have separate minds. They share a body perhaps, but their minds are separate. Their brains are separate. They have a separate heart, even though they may be sharing a body. So, when Allah has given a unique mind to every person, how can He blame others? Can He? He cannot blame others. So each person will be held responsible for himself. Therefore, don't say, I cannot do such and such because of so and so. I know what the rule is, but I cannot do it because of this and this reason, because this reason will not work on the Day of Judgment. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا فِي قَرْيَةٍ مِّن نَذِيرٍ. And we did not send into a city any warner. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا فِي قَرْيَةٍ. قَرْيَةٍ is nakira. Any city. A big city, a small city. Any city. We did not send any warner to them. إِلَّا except قَالَ مُتْرَفُوهَا. The wealthy ones, the affluent ones, they said, إِنَّا بِمَا أُرْسِلْتُمْ بِهِ كَافِرُونَ. We disbelieve in that which you have been sent with. We don't believe in it. This is a further elaboration of the previous ayah. That the disbelievers, they say, we will never believe. So typically, who is it that says this? مُتْرَفُوهَا. Mutrafun is the plural of mutraf. And who is mutraf? One who is made to live in luxury. One who is given the enjoyment and the pleasure, the luxury of this life. Because tarf is to be rich. And mutrafun are those who have affluence, those who are rich. And because of that, they also have what? Authority. Right? Because typically, those who have a lot of money also have a lot of influence. Isn't it? The rich people, whatever they're wearing, other people will try to wear it as well, whether they can afford it or not. Isn't it? So, the mutrafun, the leaders, those enjoying life's comforts, what was their reaction when the warner came to them? Inna bima ursiltum bihi kafirun. We don't believe in it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us our reality over here. That throughout history, human history, world history, there has never been any nation that has accepted the warning of the messengers immediately, happily, openly. No. There has always been resistance. The messengers have always faced hostility. People have never accepted immediately. They have never accepted, instantly, happily. No. Rather, there has been resistance. And this resistance has come from who? From who? Those who are rich, those who are wealthy. Why is it that they resisted? Why is it that they said, we don't believe? Because وَقَالُوا, and they said, نَحْنُ أَكْثَرُ أَمْوَالًا, we are more in wealth and children, وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمُعَذَّبِينَ, and we are not to be punished at all. We have more wealth, we have more children, therefore we are right. We cannot be wrong. And because we are right, we're never going to be punished in the hereafter. Whenever the messengers came, whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a warner to the people, what did He tell the people? Stop this, otherwise punishment. Isn't it? Don't do this, otherwise punishment. But those who are rich, those who have authority, what do they think about themselves? We are right. Because everyone looks up to them. Everyone looks up to them. They are the trendsetters. They are the ones whom people listen to. They are the ones whom people come to. And if all of a sudden somebody says to them, change your lifestyle, what you're doing is wrong, what you're doing will bring you punishment, this is wrong, can they accept it? it's very hard for them to accept it. It's impossible for them to accept it. Because all their life they have been thinking, we are right, we are right, we are right. And all of a sudden somebody tells them, you're wrong. They don't accept it. Just like Fir'aun. He claimed to be God. From the moment that he was a child, what was put in his head? You are the sun god, you are the God. Isn't it? You're going to be the king. You're the leader. You're the one with the greatest authority. So when Musa a.s. came and told him, this whole business of shirk is wrong, did he accept it? No. He wasn't willing to accept it. All his life, they had subjugated the Bani Israel. When Musa a.s. said, let the Bani Israel go, was he willing? No. Wasn't it unjust? Did he not have a mind? Did he not see the injustice being committed against the Bani Israel? Of course he did. He saw it. But he wasn't willing to accept that he was wrong. And what is it that made him think like that he was right? Because he had more wealth, he had more children. People get deceived by wealth and children. This is one of the greatest weaknesses of people. That a person thinks that because he has wealth and children, he is right, Allah is happy with him. Because if he was wrong, then he would not have all of these blessings. They are a source of success for him in this dunya. And he thinks that if he has them today, when he dies, he will have them tomorrow as well. Like for example, Fir'aun. When he died, or when the Fir'aun would die, what would the people do? Would they just bury the Fir'aun and that's it? What else would they bury with the Fir'aun? So many of his possessions. Why? If he has them today, he will have them tomorrow as well. وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمُعَذَّبِينَ. We will not be punished. And the thing is that when the rich people, they had this attitude, what happens? The weak ones, they follow them. Isn't it? Those who are poor, they follow them in their steps. And this way, the elite as well as the common people, both are misguided. Both are misguided. And what's the misconception? What's the root of the misconception? That more wealth, right. More children, we are right. And if you look at it, if a person has wealth, if a person has been born in the family of a very wealthy person, is he being rewarded for something? Is he being rewarded for something? No. If a person was born in the family of a poor person, is he being punished for something? No. So is wealth some reward or punishment? It's not. It's not reward or punishment. What is it? In reality, it is a test. In Surah Al-Mu'minun, ayah 55, 56, we learn, أَيَحْسَبُونَ أَنَّمَا نُمِدُّهُمْ بِهِ مِن مَالٍ وَبَنِينَ نُسَارِعُ لَهُمْ فِي الْخَيْرَاتِ بَلْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. Do they think that what we extend for them of wealth and children is because we hasten for them good things? Because we are rewarding them? Do they think that this wealth is reward? No. Rather, they do not perceive. They do not realize that this is a test. In Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 55, we learn, فَلَا تُعْجِبْكَ أَمْوَالُهُمْ وَلَا أَوْلَادُهُمْ إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُعَذِّبَهُمْ بِهَا فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَتَزْهَقَ أَنفُسُهُمْ وَهُمْ كَافِرُونَ. Don't be impressed by their wealth and their children. And we learn in Surah Al-Isra, ayah 16, that وَإِذَا أَرَدْنَا أَن نُهْلِكَ قَرْيَةً أَمَرْنَا مُتْرَفِيهَا فَفَسَقُوا فِيهَا فَحَقَّ عَلَيْهَا الْقَوْلُ فَدَمَّرْنَاهَا تَدْمِيرًا. That when we intend to destroy a city, we command its affluent. And what happens? What do? They begin to disobey Allah. And as a result, they mislead many people. And then eventually the punishment of Allah comes. So we see over here also, who is it that's leading kufr? The rich ones, the wealthy ones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ إِنَّ رَبِّي, say indeed my Lord, يَبَسُطُ الرِّزْقَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ, He is the one who extends provision for whomever He wills, وَيَقْدِرُ, and He restricts it as well. وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. But most people, they do not know. What do they not know? That rizq is in Allah's hand. That having rizq does not mean a person is being rewarded. And not having rizq does not mean a person is being punished. Allah gives to whomever He wills, believer, disbeliever, obedient, disobedient, humble, arrogant. وَيَقْدِرُ, and He restricts it as well for whomever He wills. He will give less to those who are righteous, to those who are not righteous. Isn't it so? He will give less to those who are wicked, those who are good. believers and disbelievers. وَيَقْدِرْ. Is it only the disobedient people who are poor? No. It's also the very righteous people who may have very little. So, وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَ النَّاسِ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. Most people do not know this truth, that it's entirely the decision of Allah. That wealth is for a test, it's not a reward. The distribution of wealth is not related to the rank of the person in the sight of Allah. You understand? That if a person has a lot of wealth, he has a very high rank in the sight of Allah. If a person has less wealth, he has a very low rank in the sight of Allah. No, this is not the case. Allah gives to whomever He wills, and He takes away from whoever He wills. And all of that is based on His wisdom. Because this dunya is what? It's not the place of reward. What is it? It's the place of test. So each person is being tested as to what he does, when he has, when he does not have, when he receives, and when something is taken away from him. So never be deceived by wealth.